Thanks, Leo, for this slightly exaggerated introduction of my what I've done. But what is actually true is that I'm very much interested in reading text and also reading the city as a text. And that's what I would like to do today. I would like to also say that this is going to be, this is a paper that I've written, but don't panic, I would not read them in one go. I might read some of the passages when needed. So I welcome your comments and questions so that I can improve my papers. I'm very happy to show you what I think about Hong Kong as a staircase city. And I'm also very happy to show you pictures that I took in the process of writing this paper. I enjoy it very much. Part of the pleasure in taking pictures is that you have to walk. You have to be in the city. And that's what I have experienced. And that's what I would like to show and share with you. Of course, except this picture. This is Hong Kong has been attracting many famous photographers. One of them is Michael Wolff, and this is one very interesting, if you like, symbol of how I understand seeing Hong Kong as a staircase city. You have this improvisation. The staircase attracts improvisation. And it attracts you to walk on it, and it attracts you to relate to the city in a different way. And at the end of the lecture, I would like to show you how you could actually do some resistance by actually walking the city. Okay? If you think about Hong Kong, you will have the first thing that comes to your mind is this type of picture, which shows you a skyline of Hong Kong Island. And in the foreground, you have these high-rise buildings. And perhaps in the immediate foreground, you have a very old-style boat. Here, I replace it with a modernized version, but the idea is the same. To think about Hong Kong is to see Hong Kong as a city which is having this myth of economical success, no matter what. That's the idea of Hong Kong. You earn money there, and that's it. Even though Hong Kong is undergone big changes with a construction site always everywhere, you see Hong Kong as such a flat understanding of it. We tend to forget something which is more interesting, which is the stairs populated, especially in Hong Kong Island, where people can sit and using the staircase as their everyday commute. And I found this also, particularly interesting, and I would like to show you how I understand walking the staircase in Hong Kong. Now, this is the idea that you can see almost in everyday life in Hong Kong, with people taking stairs to buy coffees, or even to spend their time in sitting on the staircases. These are more pictures showing you how people uses them. You have this three-dimensional understanding of a space instead of a two-dimensional one. You see populated as stairs, and also stairs which are very silent. And they look very interesting as not just as a commute, but themselves as an object of study. These stairs, some of them are actually being flattened by open-air escalators. The most famous one is, of course, the central mid-level escalator, opened around 20 years ago, and also the one Jingai, the Center Street in mid-level part of Hong Kong, Sai Ying Pun. These escalators are high-speed, facilitating high-speed gentrification of the community, and it forces the closure of local shops, and also the loss of genuine public spaces. And public spaces in Hong Kong are already very few, so it's worsened the situation. Today, I would like to show that staircases expose the nature of caste society and represent a nostalgia that is potentially productive. With the staircase as a imagery, you can see, you can understand that a staircase is a connecting device for a vertical climb, and it actually literally connects classes of different communities. If you are having, if you are middle class, you stay in the mid level. If you're not, then lower. So staircase actually literally shows you how a society is cast. Sorry? And I would like to show that to take the stairs is to let your body being submerged in the city, which is itself a space which is being disguised as neoliberal society. I would like to do three things today. Number one, I'll give you an overview of Hong Kong's condition. And number two, I will analyze several important texts, including Yexi's poems. If you were there a few weeks ago with Wei Chao, you can you have definitely have read some Yexi. And I will also talk about how staircases are represented in films, especially Wong Kar-wai. And also the Tsai Ming-leung's Hang Jie Hai Li. One of those are actually shot in Hong Kong. And number three, I would like to show you a tour, as Leo said, to a temple in Hong Kong called Lou Ban Xin Si Miu, the Lu Pen Master Temple, which could only be accessed through staircases. You cannot drive there. You have to walk. The first thing, I think that's I think you understand Hong Kong in that case. To see Hong Kong as a hill, and if you need to create spaces, you need to create slopes, and cut the slopes, and create terraces to build buildings on it. Therefore, staircases are becoming necessary, essential for connecting spaces in a vertical manner. But at the same time, the staircase could only be used by the pedestrian, not by the vehicle. So the staircase becomes something which is contradictory in itself. It's necessary, it connects vertically, but at the same time, it is preserved for those who do not have other means. So everybody can do it. In a way, staircase could be seen as an open space, which can be used by anybody. You don't have to own a car to walk the space. In fact, walking the stairs are usually faster especially in traffic jams time, in peak time. I also see the staircase very attractive in itself. Just by looking at them, I find pleasure in it. They are multiple. They are complex. So I see a staircase which can serve as a connecting springboards, which allow pedestrians to go from one zone to another very quickly. And it opens them up to display is heterogeneous spaces. So a staircase is also serving as a stage, which open up in terms of vertical space. So you can, at the same time, seeing the stairs as a stage and also using it as a space which you spend time there, okay? You can also see this staircase as in Deleuze's idea, as a Baroque space, which is folded up and also unfolded to show you something unexpected. So to walk up and down the stairs in Hong Kong is not only an act of traversing zones characterized by different social classes, but also a way to work against or even arrange the colonial and neoliberal logic governing the city. The staircase subverts the economy of exchange under the overwhelming logic of neoliberalism, an ideology that values market exchange as an ethic in itself. So in Hong Kong, you don't have any other ethic except to earn money. And the idea of earning money is actually covering up every other values. But to take the stairs, you can actually work against them. For example, if you walk the stairs, you are actually doing something which is free of charge. No gym can charge you to walk the stairs, and you work up your body. And so I see it as a non-commercial space, which is acting against the logic of Hong Kong. And of course, it beat the traffic, and therefore it's for the poor. Now, that's how I see why staircases are so special in Hong Kong. And why the staircases are actually necessary as a byproduct of Hong Kong's city design. And now I move on to the second stage, or second step of my talk, to see how Hong Kong's stairs serve as an image represented in different texts. And I would like to start with Yassi's poem. This is taken from 形象香港, Images of Hong Kong. Now, this is taken from a very interesting book published, which includes many of his poems and also in translation, and collecting several interesting articles. One of them is by Abbas, which I'll refer to later. The Chinese is by Yassi. The English is also by Yassi, because he has seen the translation and he has discussed with the translator. Okay? I would like to offer a reading of it and also my understanding of his poem. 我們在尋找一個不同的角度，不增添也不刪減，永遠在邊緣，永遠在過渡。We need a fresh angle. Nothing need added, nothing taken away. Always at the edge of things and between paces. That's the translation offered by Osing and Leung. 永遠在邊緣，永遠在過渡。Always at the edge of things and between paces. Now, if you look at the title of the poem, 形象香港, I find something strange about it because 形象 is usually understood as a noun. But now if it is put before Hong Kong, it becomes a kind of verb, meaning to give shape, to imagine, to give an image of Hong Kong. But how to give an image of Hong Kong without being cliche, which is taken from his other poem, 不愛是藍調. How? Then we have to get rid of the idea of having a Platonic understanding of Hong Kong, a fixed image. We have to get rid of it. We have to instead start imagining Hong Kong, like 形象香港, to keep the shape of Hong Kong. And that's what I think could be seen in the title. And talking about the translation of 永遠在邊緣, 永遠在嗰度, always at the edge of things and between places. I would like to offer an alternative translation, which is my translation, always liminal, always in transition, which of course is also the title of this talk. 永遠在邊緣, 永遠在嗰度, always liminal, always in transition. For the reason that if you look at the 永遠 repetition, you need always to show the repetition. I'll show to you later why repetition is important. And 在邊緣 is a kind of spatial idea. You're being at the margin. 在嗰度 is a temporal idea. It's a continuous tense of being in transition. So although they start with the same 永遠, they are actually belonging to different parts of speech. One is spatial, the other is temporal. And I would like to take it as an emblem of Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is usually understood as being in the margin, especially being in the margin of China, and is always seen as a space of being in transition. Has never been taken up a central position until perhaps quite recently, starting with this localism, which of course I'm doing advertisement again for the talk next week. But you can see that it is actually an issue for Hong Kong, which is being in the margin. And if you see, if you want to learn from the idea of 永遠在邊緣, which is a noun, 永遠在嗰度, which is a verb, I would like to suggest to see the idea of being in the margin as a noun to do some work. So making a verb, meaning to marginalize. So it means you're always self-marginalizing. To read it negatively, you can understand Hong Kong's political position as a marginalized position. But the problem is you don't understand Hong Kong's marginalized position as such. You don't see it as a marginalized position. You see it as a prime city for neoliberalism, the ideal city for earning money, the ideal city for not giving it a central position, not giving it democracy, still is functioning. And this is one way of self-marginalizing. Another understanding of self-marginalizing is the high-speed gentrification. As if saying to gentrify a space is by definition good. Demolition of the city, make it new, transform the city to a modern space. And I see it as a kind of act of self-marginalizing, because gentrification usually means the pushing away of the locals and also the displacement of them. And in return, we have this international brand. So gentrification could be seen as a self-marginalization. But if you see self-marginalization positively, you can see it as a kind of formulation of subjectivity through self-evaluation. If you self-marginalize yourself, you are actually starting a process of self-evaluation, leaving yourself for a moment and look at who you are. And that positive understanding could be understood as a possible self-discovery, a way to avoid alienation. That's the positive understanding of it. Now I'm moving on to the, so if you see it that way, then you could actually look for a new way of writing history. As Ye sees in his other poem set, 不增添也不增減，永遠在邊緣，永遠在嗰度。That's the rest of the other part of the poem. 形象香港，歷史就是這樣建構出來的嗎？我們抬頭尋找。In the English translation, it reads, each of us finds himself or herself looking around for what? The English translation emphasizes what to look for, but I would like to suggest that it is more important to understand who is looking for that something. It's the who, the subject, who is more important in this manner. Now, if you move on to the next half of the phrase, 永遠在邊緣，永遠在嗰度. You can also understand the idea of 嗰度, which is a verb, and to make it as a noun in transit. So you see it as a subject in transition, as Yes he said, 不斷轉變身份 one can't switch identities fast enough in the poem. Then you understand how Hong Kong is lack of subjectivity, because Hong Kong usually understands itself as a city always in transition. If you're always in transition, you're only serving as an airport. In fact, the 1997 displacement of the local 啟德機場 in Kowloon City is a very good example. A very warm, cozy, unique airport in Kowloon City is displaced, destroyed, and a new one is created at the margin of Lantau Island. As a margin is actually not true, it's a wet Malaysia next to Lantau Island. It's created out of nothing. So that you can see as a allegory of Hong Kong. You create a new city, which is serving the purpose of international commerce, is functioning very well, efficient, very nice international airport, but its own function is only serving transition. What Eddie would say a non-space, a space which only facilitate transition, not a space which itself has any value. So you can understand it as being in transition, a state of infinite potentiality. But if you see it as being in transit, then it's nothing more than a non-space, a number one international airport. With this, Edgar Abbas argues that you can see the scenario in Hong Kong, which he called decadence. Decadence in the sense that it is not in a decline. Hong Kong is not decline anymore at all. Hong Kong's economy is going up. Decadence in the sense that it is one-dimensional development in a coast field. So you're only interested in one field, one and only one field, and in Hong Kong. And that's how Abbas understands the symptom. And he calls it a decadent city, decadent space, a space which only interested in one and only one thing. I would like to use this understanding to read Hong Kong as a decadent space. Abbas also has provided a very interesting understanding of Ye's poem. He say, Yesi's Leung Hong Kong is a decadent space, and you can see a certain secret violence in it. Why secret violence? Because he said the poem's choice of language, form, and subject matter are comparable to a horror film with muted violence with the soundtrack turned off. So there's no consequence. Whatever happened, things go on. Umbrella movement happens. Seems very big, but nothing as a consequence. Things go on. You don't see any depiction of any social unrest in Leung poem, and he calls it a disappearance and indiscernibility. You don't see any depiction of intense emotion. You only see a nonsensical, non-sensational and ordinary quality in Yasi's poem, and he calls it non-consequence. You don't see that Hong Kong is actually a space which reduces choice, forecloses options, blocks exit. You're stuck there. You don't see. Because of that, we need what Yasi calls a 另外的聆聽, other listening, different ways of listening to the violence in the city. Only by using other listening, different ways of listening, you can tune into the decadence and perceive the built-in violence in Hong Kong. And I would like to use his framework to understand Yasi's poem, to read how staircases are represented in Hong Kong's city and also films. What is the differences between escalator and stairs? I would like to borrow Foucault, discipline and epiphany. If you are on a staircase, you're disciplined. If you're walking if you're on an escalator, you're disciplined, because you can only go to one direction. You are more and more currently asked to hold on the rail, and you're even demonized if you're in the MRT station, if you walk. In my generation, we are having this education of, you stay on the right-hand side, leave the left-hand side, people who are in a hurry, let them walk. That's what we are accustomed. Whereas now in Hong Kong, if you're going to take an MRT, you'll be demonized if you walk. You're regarded as somebody who's not civilized, because there are pre-record warning to you in 3 languages, English, Mandarin, and Cantonese, asking you to hold on tight, and all sort of dangers would happen. And recently they actually did it with a cartoon, very cute representation of all these warnings, which I see is even more horrible to see. So escalators is discipline, and this is This is a world famous open air escalator. If you haven't been to Hong Kong, I will recommend you to do that next time if you visit. But don't forget the stairs after this. I'm not sure about you, but I see these escalators as spaces which are designed to trick you, designed to discipline your psyche, to the extent that you don't even think of doing anything rebellious, because it's slightly higher than the usual height. If you want to walk, you have to spend extra energy, otherwise you'll be tricked. And if you're losing balance, something horrible would happen. And this is a flight of open air escalator built in Zhengai Center Street near Xianpon. If you visit Hong Kong University or you walk around these areas, you see this, this newly opened. If you go there, you see how a space is slowly being gentrified because of the installment of a open air escalator. It's a very interesting social phenomenon. Within 1 year, you see all these spaces are changed, gentrified. Local stores are disappearing. Okay, this is very new. So these are the differences. I would call escalator passive-aggressive because if you restrict your movement, and if you want to move, then something bad would happen. And it also create this psychic reminder of films which we have watched. For example, Modern Times, where Charlie is actually being stuck in the machine, literally, and he become mad later. The escalator in the urban imagery in Hong Kong is especially bad, horrible, because of two incidences. One is a devouring escalator in a shopping mall in China. I will show you pictures, but you can just see it. A mother being eaten up, literally, by the staircase, and she dies. And also a 45 meter long escalator in Long Ho Fong in Mongkok. The one on the left-hand side usually going up, but suddenly go down twice the speed, and people will just hurt themselves inside a shopping mall. So escalators is becoming a very horrible image in Hong Kongers' imagination. They become a kind of unconscious, if you like, what I mean, in the urban imagination. Could only use the escalator in a creative way in order to escape that. And I see it in the case of Chongqing Express, Chongqing Samlam, Wong Kar Wai, where the protagonists say hello to their beloved on the escalators. So escalators is not used as a one-directional mover, but a machine which facilitate love-making activities. If you consider how staircase is different from an escalator, In a Mood for Love comes to mind. It is where Wong Kar Wai and it's where the protagonists Tony Leung and Maggie Zhang meet when they go to buy some takeaway. Not sure if you can see it, but Maggie Zhang is waiting for takeaway for delicious wonton she'll meet Zhao Mo soon. Interesting note to note that the staircase is actually not in Hong Kong. It's not taken in Hong Kong. It's in Malaysia. But that's my point. Even though it's not made in Hong Kong, you imagine it as a Hong Kong specific cityscape where people meet, where people eat. There's a kind of nostalgia evoked in making the film. I see a staircase as a space where you can develop a bodily understanding of it. Because a staircase itself is a marginalized space, no one takes note of it. It's taken as a space for transition, but it facilitates active mode of transportation. You can walk up and down. You don't have to walk all the way up. In fact, you are encouraged to stop and sit down, maybe talk. You can play games. Tai Long Tai is my favorite childhood game. You can walk and you can talk to other people. And in fact, staircase is an image for dramatic and philosophical implications. For example, you have a staircase in Plato's Symposium. A staircase is a ladder, is used as an image for achieving a higher level of being, higher level of understanding. And also you see staircase in many different philosophical discussions. I'll show you more later. To walk the stairs, it heightens your sense of bodily and the relationship with the mind. So it's more an activity of uniting your body and your mind, which is also an act of protesting because of the decadence, one-dimensional manner. You want to break away from this one-dimensionality. You wanted to do things, the body and the mind. And the staircase is a perfect space for it. Yasi has also written a poem which is set in a flight of stairs. In 1992, the poem is called Lou Tai Gai. He changes to Mokek in 2012. The poem is set in the physical space, which is called Lou Tai Gai Letter Street. You can walk there next time when you're in Hong Kong. It would be very interesting if you bring along with you this poem and walk there. He said, 穿過樓梯街，我穿的木屐掉了，失去一雙木屐，一切便都失去了。穿過樓梯街，不覺中了高飛盡，高樓建起來，秋雲暗了幾重。我蹲下來，在石級上摸索我的影子。The English translation goes, right here in Letter Street, I almost lost them, my clothes. I slip out of my clothes and slip from the spell of magic. How strange and ordinary, like birds disappearing in thin air. I hungered here in the concrete, felt for my shadow. In spite of roads above and below, I heard your voice. Hunger here in the concrete, felt for my shadow. Of course, the idea of above and below is important. Lou Tai Gai, the Letter Street, connects the space from the Kien Do and Bun Ham Do up there, which is a major road to connect central to mid-level. Central to mid-levels. And down there, you can see all this contour, all the way down to Hollywood Dome, which you can find Manmo Mill there. That's how you look down from the 樓梯街, from the Letter Street. The poem is written in response to a actually open air dance show. So Yasi responds to, excuse me, how the dancers going up and down on the stairs. It's also interesting to note that the translator understands the stone steps as concrete, removing the historical layers in it. Stones is used as a much earlier building material than the concrete. You also notice the emphasis on the importance of hearing. The poem goes:可不可以跟失去的聲音相約？明朝有意穿着木屐再回來。Why can't one make appointments with bygone voices tomorrow at 10? Wear the cloth, I will hear you then. It is in this emphasis of hearing which I find very important. Apart from seeing, hearing is emphasized. And to walk the stair is to notice the rhythm in your body. You are aware of how your body is making voice and all this rhythm. So in a way, your body is being together with the rhythm of the city. These two posts are from two scholars who formulates their understanding of philosophy with stairs. The first quote goes: the effect of the stair, the steepness of the stair is reflected in your body. He said, ascending a stair makes our heartbeat and breathing faster. So there's a difference between going up and down. Steep stairs adjust the heart, whereas gentle stairs echo the rhythm of our lungs. So your heart and your lungs are responding differently when you're walking different stairs with different gradient. A flight of stairs in dream is actually symbolic. That's of course the void. We come to the top of a series of rhythmical movements and with increasing references, and then with a few rapid leaps, we can get to the bottom again. Thus, the rhythmical pattern of copulation is reproduced in going upstairs. So Freud argues that if you in your dreams, if you are walking upstairs, then it's a unconscious representation of copulation, or having sex, because of the breathing rhythm in going up the stairs. So stairs, or walking on it, the act of walking on it, serve as images for theorists, for their understanding of how they work. Now I'm going to show you some pictures along the Letter Street. This is the Manmo Mill, and next to it, if you walk up, then you can actually go up all the way along the Letter Street to the top where Punhamdo and Gindo meet. So especially when you're walking the city, you can see how the body and the city are allegories of each other. The city and the suffering body could be seen also in Chai Min Liang's slow cinema. This is his short film called 行者系列 The Walker, shot in Hong Kong in 2012. It's available online. I highly recommend you to look at it. It's very interesting because it's very slow, very, very slow. But you can see how Hong Kong is represented in this shot. The opening sequence of 行者 is showing you a stair of a flight of stairs, which is typical of the Tong Lau in Hong Kong, the old building in Hong Kong, 8 floors. People walk up, and you can see a monk walking down very, very slowly. It takes him 2 minutes for one step. So immediately for Chai Min, Hong Kong is what? Hong Kong is represented as stairs. You have to walk. You can also see a alternative representation of the stairs, which is stairs in shopping malls, where you also see the monk, played by Leung, walking very slowly down an illuminated, modernized shopping malls, and in his hands you have the famous food from Hong Kong, which is ball bao, pineapple bun, and also milk tea on his both hands. So to see the very, very slow walking body, you can try to walk very slow. You will feel the pain, and this is created by Leung to walk across a room in 30 minutes from this side to another side. I saw his performance in a stage, and this is not a stage performance, but you also see it, a continuous long take, showing you how he walks from one point to another, very, very slowly. So you have this time to, actually you are forced to look at the city and to experience how the body is suffering in looking at the film. He also made another film in Tokyo, and also for those you're interested in how Asian cities are represented. Another one is made in Tokyo, although his first one is set in Marseille. He got the funding from there. And I would like to show you this true understanding of nostalgia. The nostalgia which you can see in perhaps Wong Kar-wai's films, Happy Together or In the Mood for Love, which is a nostalgia which long for the past. And for Wei Chao, Happy Together is attracted to a fantasized state of oneness. She's addressing especially to the opening sex-making scenes in Happy Together, 春光乍泄, to a time of absolute coupling and indifferentiation that may nonetheless appear in the guise of an intense, indeed delicious memory. So that's to me is a negative nostalgia, because you're longing to an imagined lost past. There is a positive, potentially positive nostalgia, which I see as could be done by walking the stair. If you walk the stair, there's a nostalgic feeling, which is positive, because that could be a way of walking out of the decadence of Hong Kong, the one-dimensional feature of Hong Kong. Now that's my second part. My last part is a visual tour of a less known vault in Hong Kong, which is located in Hong Kong Island on the western part of it next to Kennedy Town, which is now connected by the subway. The Lopan Temple, which I think is very interesting and beautiful to look at. It is first built in 1884. It's a Grade 1 historical building. It is located between Belcher's Street, Belo Jagai, and Bok Phu Lam Do. It's located on the Ching Lin Toi. If you look at the map, you can see that it is maybe too small here, but you can imagine the Belo Jagai interior, and also Bok Phu Lam Do up there. So you must understand that this is a kind of three-dimensional space. Here, the blue part is a sea, so it's sea level, whereas Bok Phu Lam Do is up there. So this is how I understand Hong Kong as a staircase city. You have this very narrow and high elevation. This is dramatic in itself. And Lopan Sinsi Miu can only be accessed by staircases. The first route could be done through Lei Bo Long Path on Belcher's Street, which is perpendicularly shown to you here. Well, you see when I have taken these pictures during the election. So you see many of those faces. So if you walk up the Lei Bo Long path, you immediately go into a very quiet space, just 10 seconds after, from a very crowded, noisy Belo Jagai to a quiet space, just in 10 seconds. You walk up. And then in 1 minute, you'll be confronted with a retaining wall. And retaining wall is an important structure in a hilly space for creating flat ground for buildings, of course. This extraordinary one is very high, and you think that you think that there's no way out, but actually there's one way out on your left-hand side. When you reach there, you can also see the signage, Lopan Sinsi Miu. Very interestingly, it's only in Chinese, traditional Chinese, no English. And Lopan Sinsi Miu is actually attracting many signage. You can see many in excess of signage in traditional Chinese, no English. It's extremely interesting how a how building attracts a textual excess in the signage. So if you turn left, you're confronted with a kind of country park flight of stair. Very dramatic. And they are in red brick. You walk up, then you arrive at the Ching Lin Toi, a terrace which on which residential buildings are built. That's the Ching Lin Toi, and you can see the hill shape of the rooftop of the Lopan Miu. It's a lovely garden up there. You only need 5 minutes to walk from the sea level, Belo Jagai, and up there. Another route is to take the Stan Street, the Sanxi Gai, which is here. an extraordinary interesting road because it changed, because it doesn't change even though it's elevated. So the stand switch just go all the way up when it meets a staircase. What changes is the road name itself. So you have the stand switch, and then you have the hill road on the perpendicular angle. So if you walk along Sand Street and then you're confronted with a flight of stairs, and then you walk up, it's still Sand Street. It looks like this. So the flight of stairs is Sand Street. And in Hong Kong, you see many of those stairs, which is of the length of the width of the stair. So it's a 樓梯街, literally. It's a 樓梯 and it's a 街. It's a stairs. It's also the width of the street. Okay. This is one example. You can see a modernized version of a lift there, which is built in the past 5 years. 5 years before it was not there. But I find these pedestrian movers much less inhumane. It's very good for the old people who actually stayed up there in these residential buildings. So now you're looking back towards the sea when you walk up the flight of stairs. So you're up there, and then you look back, you see actually the sea is very near you. You don't recognize it until you turn back. And on the right hand side, you can take another perpendicular flight of stairs to connect you to other residential buildings. And these are all named after Li Bo, the poet in China, because the developer is said to be lovers of Li Ba. So all these terraces are named after Li Bo. They are Tou Li Tai, you can see it here, and Tai Bak Tai, and even Hock Si Tai is actually not named after Hong Kong University. Don't think that Hock Si Tai is bachelor. No, Hock Si Tai is named after Li Ba because Li Ba is a Hock Si in the official rank in China. So you have this sudden change in vocabulary of reading the space according to a famous Chinese poet, Li Ba. If you go up Sand Street, you see a kind of open space, green gardens, where everybody can go. Until you reach this dead end, you can go up further. You could, if you are adventurous enough, to walk up because there's another flight of stairs, not maintained though, to bring you up to Bok Fu Lam Do. So you can only look back to see this, if you like, an elevated garden in Hong Kong. If you take a flight of stairs up, you go back to the Qing Lin Tai. Qing Lin, of course, is named after Li Ba's poem. To visit the historic temple. We don't have time to go into detail, just want to show you some pictures of the inside. Next to the temple is a secondary school called Hanwha Zhonghe, which is now gone. It's relocated to some proper space. But you can imagine how these secondary school kids are experiencing. They have to walk to their lessons. They can't. There's no pick up surface. You have to walk either up or down, down from Buffalo or up from where I have shown you. 晴雨不變。But Hanwha Hall is now gone. The signage is still kept there. So there's a kind of ghosting happening in the space. The campus is actually now turned into a Hong Kong U hall. So if you study in Hong Kong U, you could apply for staying there, experiencing the ghost of the long gone secondary school. But next to you is a Loban Sinsi Miu, the patron god of craftsmanship. So people working in Samhong, carpenters and so on, engineers, architects, are all worshipping the deity on a particular day. It's still going on now. So I'm trying to finish up. So I see this space as what Foucault calls a heterotopia, a space which actually exists, unlike utopia. Utopia doesn't exist, but heterotopia exists physically. And it offers a criticism to the surrounding space because there are layers of meanings which cannot be separated, which cannot be reconciled in itself. There is a colonial British Hong Kong. There is a place names associated with Li Bao from Tang Dynasty. You have a post-colonial Liu Hong Kong there. And you have a temple which is dedicated to the master of craftsmanship, which bears the name of a destroyed, small but sophisticated Stair, Lou Gok, before an unified concept of China was formed. If you walk there, if you stay there, you can let all these layers of history penetrate your body. It's a green and open semi-public space in the middle of the BC city. So it's kind of folding in a decadent Hong Kong, offering a criticism to it. If you walk up, you can encounter a kind of hiking trail, minimized version of it. Very beautiful, with the trail which is itself historical. You can't find any trails like this, hand trail, I mean. You can see works on it. Again, the building attracts works. You can admire the rooftop, which is at one point being occupied by birds. And you see more signage of Hanwha Chunghok and Loban Sinsi Miu. Lastly, you encounter a spiral stairs which bring you all the way up to the major road, Buffalo. And when you walk up, you see this combination of signage again. The highest, the highest one is by the government, which is the least interesting one. You have English, yes, but the signage is kind of standardized. But those on the right-hand side are all Chinese characters. They are not organized because you see Hanwha Chunghok and all these terraces. But you see many Hanwha Chunghok and many Loban Sinsi Miu. So they are planted there, unorganized in different historical times. So if you walk along Buffalo, outside Hong Kong, you can see them. A contrast is a very less interesting space, which is a new estate development next to it, which creates a standardized walking up next to the building. I visit here just to show you how they could differ from each other. In conclusion, I am arguing that if you walk the stair, it's resisting the ongoing and new colonizing power, which is in disguise as a neoliberal logic in Hong Kong. And if you walk the stair, you allow the body and the city to interact so that they transform each other. Lastly, I would like to show you this Hong Kong Stair archive, which could be surfed online, where they show you a collection of pictures, interactive map of the staircase in Hong Kong. They are organized by a scholar called Melissa K. Kite, whose book is coming. There are two books. The first one is called Step Up, which just come out this month. And you can see many other interesting information there. Thank you.